everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of Sphere of Being, which is this show which talks about putting your oxygen mask on first as a leader, making sure that you've got your cup overflowing so you can help other people. And I'm always on the hunt, as you know, for amazing guests so that they can delight, entertain you, but all importantly, leave you with valuable messages so that you can go, oh, is that me? Can I do that? Fabulous. Yes, let's get on there. And today, with no exception, I have a public figure. He is a multi-acclaimed talk show host. He is master of the microphone. He gets you empowered to rock that stage and go out there and live your very best dream, being a public speaker, being involved in public engagements and things, because people don't do business with the best. They do it with the best known. And this is the thing, this is overcoming our frightened little selves and being the best that we can be. And this man, through lived experience, has done just that. So, welcome, Rich the Trigger Bontrager. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Deborah. Great to be here today.
It's wonderful. And just to let everybody know, we did a little recording the other day as well, where
Yes, we
I
did.
was on the different side of the screen. And I can tell you what, Rich was the most beautiful, generous, and so insightful as a host. He asked me some fabulous questions. So we'll get this out on the show notes as well. Unashamedly, I'm going to tell it to everybody. It would be wonderful if you could watch it. But today, this is very much about you, Rich, because you have been on quite some journey, haven't you?
Oh yeah, it's we're not going to say how many years, but it truly has been a lifelong journey.
Well, you've packed a lot in 15 years, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Bit like myself, you know. And anyway, as they say, time isn't linear. So,
No, not in my life at all.
hopefully we're regressing. Well, I know I have anyway.
Oh no, actually, I told God when I was a little kid, I actually said a prayer and I said, God, never let me grow up. Now my parents are really kind of shocked because God, I aren't really answered the prayer. I have never grown up. I'm still a 15-year-old kid who wants to climb a tree, jump off a rope swing, and live life full on.
Hey, it's helter skelter. Let's go down that water slide at full pelt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you know what? As we know it, we don't get it twice.
No.
And some may say, thank goodness for that. Oh, so to start things off, Rich, I would love you to tell our wonderful audience what is it that happened on your journey? Because you weren't really at the beginning destined to have a career in such a public and upfront and in your face and on screen way, were you?
No. The idea of me having a 35-year broadcasting professional and talk show host career was a dream, but it was never going to happen because I grew up with a lifelong stutter. And that stutter was debilitating in many ways, from emotional to physical to educational to relationships. That stutter really ripped me apart. And my dream growing up in Indiana was to listen to Harry Carey, Cubs baseball. And I said, I wanted to do that. All the while, I can't speak. And that's where my journey really began.
Fabulous. And you know what? This just goes to show to people that, we're two people that found our voices in slightly different ways, and now you can't shut us up.
Right,
It's
exactly. That's
fabulous.
exactly. Well, actually, they couldn't shut me up growing up, but it was always, duh, 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 duh. And my parents would say, why are you trying to broadcast the game? We're watching those guys. And I'm like, because I want to do this.
Oh, I tell
That's
you
how I
what.
grew up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And so, you sound like you came from, was it supportive, your background? You had this stutter. It was not, but was it supportive? Did people rally behind you?
So that's a split question. My mother also has a stutter. So if you study and learn about stutters, there's four main things that impact us. Genetics is perhaps one of them. This, and again, there's no cure for stuttering. There's no pill, no nothing. So genetics is one. Uh, Family trauma is part of it. Do you have anything like that? Family dynamics is some of it. And some of it is also just that emotional mental is everything connecting right to help you speak properly. There's all this stuff going on. And I was 404. So my family was trying to learn about me because I'm deaf in my left ear. I have bad eyes and I stutter. And I nearly died at birth. That was the beginning of my life. So my
Oh,
family the whole time was, who is he? Is he going to live? And what do we do with this kid?
wow. And so how did that all show up for you? What was life like as this, I could only say incredible little boy, but what was the average day? What were you feeling? What was going on in your life at that point?
Well, I was under a microscope. So my mother called me Little Richard. And she's the only person in the world that can still do that today because I'm still an 8, 10, 12-year old to my mother. I will always be that kid that had medical problems. And she always wanted to watch over. And because she identified with the stutter side, she knew that it was something that was going to impact me for the rest of my life. So I was bullied. I was picked on horribly. I was every every trick that you think you could do a kid to embarrass him in public was done to me over and over and over again. With a name like Bontrager, they literally turned it into Bomb Booger, Buttrager, and names that go on and on. And it was Buttrager. And that's what I grew up with. So it affected my self confidence immensely. Asking a girl out was a chore. Hi, you want to go out? And they would look around the room like, what do I do with this guy? So everywhere I looked, I knew someone was looking at me differently. And even though I had big aspirations, I had a big imagination, there was still a limiter always on me that you're never going to get beyond this. And there was a tug of war all my growing up of what was really going to happen to this kid.
Wow. I mean, this is deep. This is
Oh,
very deep. I mean, this is something which, I mean, we're smiling about this, but actually at the time, were you able to brush this off? How did it affect you?
oh, I cried. I cried getting on the bus. I cried getting off the bus. My cousin and I are best friends. We grew up, our families in the same city. We hung out all the time. He was my best friend and he was my nemesis. And recently I just did a whole hour special on stuttering. I interviewed members of my family going back, and I'd never done it. We never really talked about it. It was always just there. And we talked to my cousin and I talked back and forth about the way he literally embarrassed me on purpose to set himself to look cool because he knew I was not. And we talked about the tug of war, being best friends, but to look good in front of the girls, he could not be me. He could not be. And so we had the tension. And we would plan date nights and we'd go on double date. And I knew somewhere that night he was going to intentionally embarrass me, but we still went out. And there was always that tension of what's going to happen and the emotional turmoil of me quietly going home and I'm still not good enough. I'm still not good enough.
Whoa. So you were kind of like his stooge.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And we, I was his stepping stool. And I phrased that way during the interview that I did with him. And he said, that's really a harsh way of looking at it. And then he paused and he said, you're absolutely right. But that's really a crappy cousin. And those are the things that I lived through all my life.
Mm.
And eventually it did begin to change. I did learn how to work with my stutter, but growing up with that set a lot of limiting beliefs on me because
Okay.
I did, like I said, I watched baseball. I watched football. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to get behind the microphone. I watched Johnny Carson growing up and I wanted to do Johnny. I wanted to have my desk, my interview show, and do all this stuff. And when I did finally go to the broadcast school, my college professor said, Rich, you have a great voice, except no one's going to hire you because you stutter.
So at that point, you still stuttered when you went to broadcasting
Yeah,
school.
I'm in college stuttering. And, they want you to read the news, the hard news, and do all the facts and the horrific car accident and all those things. And I found out through that I'm too emotional. I live on passion and emotion, and I would read these stories, and I just get more tongue tied, and I'm talking about the 5-year-old that got killed in a tragic accident. When I got into sports play by play, like I always wanted to, because it's ad libbing, it's unscripted, it's passion of the moment, being in the moment with the game, that flew. My tongue flew. And my younger brother was with me early on when we were doing a college basketball game, and he was had the headset on watching and listening, and he sat there going, "This is incredible. You don't stutter. You're not even you. You're a whole different guy." And that's where I began to go, where I can't do scripted hard news, but to be me, I can go unscripted and do what I've always dreamed to do. And I was pretty darn good at it.
Wow, this is awesome. And you know what? You've just triggered something in my own head. I'm not good at prescribed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I can beautifully communicate in a way where I can think on my feet, which
Yes.
most people would be terrified of. They need the notes, they need the thing. And for me, that is the reverse. That
Yes.
terrifies me.
No, when you were just on my show, Rock the State show, there was 3 opening questions. And after that, it was all unscripted for 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
That's where I thrive. And I tell my guests, I may use your questions. I may not even use your question. We're just going to go. And I tell them it's highly unscripted, personal. But as a broadcaster, as a storyteller, I go where the story goes. And it's fun to hear what unveiled, because often what we plan to talk about is a sidestep to what we really get into. And it's
Yeah.
fun to find the story of the day.
You
And as a
see,
journalist, I
I
thrive on that.
love this. I love it. I love it. At what point did you think, because you mentioned something really insightful there, that I think it was your brother that you said was,
Yeah.
is this you?
Yeah.
Is this you? So tell me about that difference in the stuttering you and the one that was there doing the ball game and the commentary you. Was
So
that the real you?
yes, we found out that's a real me, because I've always been a creative. And this is one of the other things about stutters very often. A lot of them are creative because we've been bullied, been picked on, we've been alone. I read comic books forever. I watched movies forever, and I was just in an imaginary bubble. And that imaginary bubble was good to protect me, but it was not good for people that wanted to get through to me. Teachers thought I was looking out the window because I was just not listening. No, I was listening very much, but I'm also imagining what they're talking about in word pictures. And I learn in word pictures. So there was a collision with that all the time. So what finally happened was I signed up to be on a drama team, 10-week drama team through our church organization. They all knew I stuttered, and they still said, yeah, try out, see what happens. They put me on the drama team. We have a major 45 to 50-minute play, and I get to play the bad heavy. All the way through preparation, I was stumbling and bumbling over my lines. I could memorize them at home. I just couldn't get them out when I was with my cast members. We had a week-long final practice before the launching of our summer tour. All week it was horrible. My teammates, my fellow actors were like, this is a train wreck. At the final dress rehearsal with an audience of 300 people, we huddled backstage. The director said, if Rich can't do it tonight, we have to pull the play, and you'll do puppets all summer long, because he does great puppet voices. I can do different voices and tones. And we're all like hanging our heads like, oh crap, this is going to be terrible.
No pressure, no
No,
pressure.
no pressure at all for a guy that stutters, no pressure. And we huddled up, we said a prayer. I walked out, and we hit every line, every note, every inflection. And as I was doing it, I was so in the moment, just in character. I could see the other actors looking at me, and it's almost like they're looking around the corner, like, where's Rich? Because this ain't him. And it was so transformational. We hit everything all the way through it, went backstage, and the director has tears in her eyes. And she goes, I don't know what just happened, but evidently God wants you to go do it. So pack your bags. You're going to do this all summer. And
Oh.
then that summer, I became the spokesman for the team. Any paper, any TV interviews, they pushed me out front. any churches we went to, they said, can someone speak on Sunday? We want to hear one of you guys. They would say, Rich can speak. And that began my search in the full-time church ministry, which I also became a full-time pastor. So from no speech at all to literally that moment opened up a whole nother door.
Whoa, who say miracles don't happen? Wow. That was miracle upon miracle, wasn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely. And it totally allowed me to embrace the creative side, because when I'm all in creatively, I am a different person. I mean, there is Rich and there's Rich, the media guy. This is a performance. This is part of the energy I bring. This is part of what I coach people on to help them learn how to rock their stage. It's not the same person totally, but it is the same person. But when I do this, we're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm not going to stutter.
I absolutely love this because what you're saying to me is people can step into their authentic truth and their power and pick a different facet of themselves that
Yes.
can then absolutely transform the way in which their personal branding, their company branding, who they
Yes.
are, to elevate them into a level which was beyond their comprehension.
Well, and my parents, especially my dad was a lawyer and a judge, comes from a lawyer judge family. They were very analytical. So my dad could not figure me out as a kid, could not figure me out. It was his mother, my grandma, who picked up on the creativity. And finally, she was the one that would have me come over, bring comic books. We would sit in her kitchen and I would read comic books, but she said, read them in the voices of the characters. Now, she's 65, 7 years old. She doesn't care about Scooby Doo or Batman the way I do, but she wanted me to do the voices. And she helped me to release that inner creativity and gave me permission to do it, where my parents had no understanding of this. And that was really the early iteration of what later the play was, because she said, I see the spark. I see in you. And she said, embrace that and go for it. So there was always the conflict of the stutter, the creative, and the bubbling idiot.
Well,
Always
it's
going on.
beautiful because it makes you human, it makes you real, it makes you approachable, it makes you through a lived experience to help wonderful people unlock their creativity, unlock their inner child, unlock the thing that for them, when they get on that stage, which you do so eloquently, and I want to talk about that, is to be that person that literally rocks the stage. So you've got this amazing show, and of course you're there all the time training and mentoring
Yes.
beautiful people to do the great work in a way that you do. Let's now look at this work from the benefit of your story, which is so important because I believe that lived experience, you can't really beat lived
No, you
experience,
can't.
so you're putting this in. Tell us, what are you all about when you help people? What are you doing? How do you do it?
Well, I'm an executive performance coach, basically what it is. And executives often, if you ever hear them speak, a lot of the executives aren't good speakers, honestly. They have great information, but they don't know how to rock on that stage. My job is to come in and literally help them keep their head up, so how to come alive as a performer, as hand and body gestures, help them learn how to do eye engagement, help them with dramatic storytelling. I take them to where they cannot go by themselves. And it's fun to see that transformation. It's so fun to take them on a journey of, I rip apart their speech, I put it back together, I add some storytelling, add this, and everyone is different. So everyone is unique in rebuilding them back up, which is absolutely fun because it's never the same thing day twice. And when you see them begin to, like I did, when they step into it and they begin to believe in it, the smiles, the energy they bring, they're all of a sudden like, I'm not afraid of this anymore. I can actually do this. And you see the crowd start participating with them. You see them break the glass. The stage and the audience are separate by the imaginary glass. When they start getting this, the glass disappears, and then you're having a love fest back and forth.
Mm.
And that's what I coach. I help them to realize, don't be afraid of the audience. Don't be afraid of the camera. More and more, as we were talking about backstage before we jumped on, people don't want to be here. This is a stage. This is a full stage, no different than a physical stage. And people don't embrace this the same way they do the physical stage. My goal is to help them understand you got to be all in, full energy, full body language, full eye contact. You cannot do this as a throwaway. And again, it changes their businesses when they talk to their teams, when they have their annual retreat to talk about the next year's plans. This now is a global stage that people who have global businesses connect with everybody much differently now if you know how to do it. That's really what Rock the Stage is really all about.
And I love this. And the other thing is that I'm just thinking as well, is that we don't just show up for business. When we go home and we're with our friends and our family, our loved ones,
Yes.
how we are then as open communicators, as insightful and engaging communicators and storytellers, somehow that then influences if we have children,
Oh, yeah.
our partners, our family members, etc. Because I take it back to what your brother said is that you?
Well, and I have $3, twins. Two of them are twins. And the monster at the end of the book is a favorite Grover book from Sesame Street. It's Grover at the end of the book saying, "Who's the monster in the book?" And the whole way through, I did Grover. And my girls would jump out of bed squealing and say, "Read it again, read it again."
Again.
So they got into this themselves by understanding that dad was a creative. When you begin to embrace it, like you said, with your friends, your neighbors, everyone else, they embrace you more. When you hold back and reserve the inner you, you're one dimensional. You don't need to be one dimensional.
You see, and it's all about for me is adding value. And as somebody who didn't have a voice, and we've talked about that, and I think people on this podcast, if you're new to it, have a look at some other shows because I'm very open about how I got here. And we talked about the cloak of invisibility
Yes.
on your show. But the great thing is when you discover this beautiful thing called your voice. And as they say, a very small percentage is actually verbal.
Yes.
Most of this, and I want you to go into this now,
Yeah.
is what's the non-verbal communication that you help people with? Because it's okay if I did that in the voice and da 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 da, you know?
That's what most people do. It's like, okay, we're gonna start the interview now. And backstage we're laughing and joking. I have this all the time. People, then the camera's on, you do the introduction, it's like, "Hi, Deb, really good to be here." And everything's out of sync. Everything's like a bad Japanese movie. It's out of sync instead of letting it naturally flow. You have to learn. The biggest thing I coach on camera is your hands. People don't know what to do with their hands. It's like they're always hidden off the screen. Can I move my shoulder or not? Should I shrug? Should I laugh? Yeah,
Yeah.
like stupid laughing. All this body language. But even when you're talking, asking the questions, I should be engaged with you, not just sitting and waiting for the next one. So I am laughing. I am joking. I am saying, yeah, like this with that body language. And it makes it more fun for everybody. It feels like we're just having a conversation, which everyone can do. And it lowers that stress of I'm on an interview.
Mm.
And when I can get you to use your body language. Now, yes, there are some things you don't want to do. Like if you're doing a full camera shot, ladies, you got to be careful what dress you're wearing and when you flip your legs over. I'm sorry, you got to be careful of that.
Or,
Men,
or the or the COVID pajama bottoms.
yeah, the COVID pajama bottoms are still in vogue. But then there's their head. You're in camera frame. So you don't want to be way up here. I always tell people 2 to 3 inches from top, so people can get the full you. You also you also want to have room to get back from the camera, so you can use your hands because this feels more natural. I cannot talk without my hands. Most people, honestly, are putting their hands down below and they just don't want to do anything but maybe wiggle back and forth and things like that. So the body language, it communicates your passion, your energy, the fun. A smile is one of the most important things. People don't understand a smile is infectious. Even if you're on TV, doing a live stream, your smile is a great thing. And the other thing with this is we haven't even gotten to the vocal side yet, but the most powerful thing you can do is, hi, Deb. Thanks for having me on here. Deb, that was a great question. Beautiful. Using the person's name draws you more intimately back and forth. And people sometimes can do a whole interview and not say the other person's name all the way through it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, one of those things that I always used to think about. It's like having tea with your granny. You're
Yeah.
respectful because it's your granny, but it's intimate and it's warm and it's loving and it's an exchange and there's animation there, but it's natural. It's not
Yeah.
forced. And I think what you do, Rich, is you put people so much at their ease. And I'm sure that what you do in your training with people and your mentoring on how they rock the stage is, and I'd love you to explore this, that how about if you have a persona, let's say, that
Yep.
you adopt, talk us a little bit about how you would help somebody go from shy and retiring and really awkward to somebody that really owns and rocks that platform.
Part of it is mining them, looking inside of them, figuring out what their story is, what their self-confidence, but also what do they naturally do? Do they have a nervous tick? Do they have something like that? Then work on the nervous tick. So because most people have a nervous tick, they know they have it. Help them get rid of that nervous tick. Then you get back into the normal flow. But what do you normally do? So often I'll work with them standing up. During COVID, the first thing I taught most speakers were bored with on camera doing stuff like this. And every call I would say, stand up, move your camera, adjust the camera. I want to see your full body. And they say, why? This is stupid. I said, stand up, give me a full camera shot. Okay.
Now.
Right now. And then I would say, start part of your keynote. Oh, this is stupid, Rich. I'm on Zoom. No one cares. Start your whole keynote. And they would eventually begin to realize they're on stage. They're on stage, not in a Zoom box and not in a boring office or in their bedroom. And they would change. And in the middle of every one of those coaching sessions, someone would stop and say, hey, 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 why does this feel different? What did you do? And I was like, I didn't do anything. I said, no, 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 Rich, this is actually kind of fun. It's kind of cool. What did you do? I said, all I did was put you back on stage by making you stand up. You sat down and you got boring. And it was that simple of a thing to work with them to have them realize, wow. And most of the time, I tell people, stand up, get up in full body flow. You can't help but moving. You can't help but use your natural energy. If you sit, you become passive, unless, like me, you've really worked at this and done this for a very long time. But most people, it's stand up and you will be naturally you, which is what that authentic side is. This is not authentic for most people. Sitting down, doing an interview, and feeling like they're on the Jay Leno show or Fallon. They're like,
Oh, for the
no.
opportunity. If you could get me on there, I'm there. I'm doing.
Right. So if you do it the other way, it's unbelievable.
Mm. Oh, this is so beautiful, giving people their voice to share their message and add value to all of those people that they know that they want to be out there influencing for them to thrive as well. This is just beautiful. I think my journey with getting my voice out there changed when I realized that actually I was doing it for the service of others. Um,
Yes.
yeah, just talk us a little bit about, how people engage with that audience in the fact that people do want to hear what you've got to say. You are valuable.
So that's one of the things as part of the coaching is that you have something valuable to say. You have to believe that what you have is valuable to say. Now, I tell people I don't take myself too serious, but what I talk about, I take serious. So that allows me to have fun, laugh, joke, tease. But then when it comes to the important stuff, you will see me flip a switch. Now I'm going to let you know, hey, take note. This is what I really want to tell you today. And it's part of that teaching language. But you've already warmed up. You've already got the crowd going. But then you now know I've got the hook. I've set the bait. I've got them hooked. I can reel them in now, and they'll take the tough medicine. They'll take the hard message. They'll take the challenge because they already have that sense of I can trust this guy or trust this gal. But that's part of now you learn your voice, the storytelling, the body language. And when they know that you are locked in, eye contact is so important. I actually have a camera set up that is right in my iframe. I cannot make it look like I'm not looking at you. I've got it set up. So there are ways to help you maintain eye contact even when you're passionately in it. Because most people will turn away, duck down, look at their notes, all these things. The eyes are so important with your smile. If people feel like they have eye contact, even across Zoom, across the world, the coolest thing that we learned was during COVID, everyone has a front seat. You're not sitting in an
Mm.
auditorium looking on a column over someone's head with a kid climbing over the parent. Everyone has a front seat. So you have to treat it like you're one-on-one, but you're talking to the masses, which, by the way, is a broadcast trick. Early on, we were told, yes, you're on radio. There could be thousands of people listening to you, but you want to say, I, you, me. I'm glad you're here. Even though you're in a radio room by yourself, I'm glad you're with us tonight. It makes it feel so much more personal than, hey, y'all, great to have you here today. And this is where that messaging of your brand and everything comes alive. The more personal you are through this, the more personal they'll feel you. And you don't want to be analytical. You want to be heart-centered and get them excited with you.
So beautiful. Oh, I could listen to you all day. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Oh, brilliant. You've shared thousands of pounds worth. I come from the UK, so it's British pounds. Thousands of pounds worth of valuable information with our wonderful listeners for you out there, as they say. Yes. Because it is just, you see, you don't get this without lived experience because you've been there, you know it, you've gone
Oh,
through the school of hard knocks, as they say, which is terrific. Now, what I'd love to do, because I'm conscious of time for
yep.
everybody and yourself as well, would you be able to give, say, somebody who is just like, oh, I really don't want to do this. It's giving me heebie-jeebies. I can't sleep at night. I get into cold sweat just
Yeah.
thinking about standing up in front of people. Believe me, I know it, everybody, because I've done it. I'm there. I am. Oh my goodness me. This is just, it was so out my comfort zone. It was just untrue. But have you got any golden nuggets that you could give the listeners to actually say, you know what, this is the way in which you can break a few of those barriers down?
Yeah. Yeah. Number one is, like I just said a minute ago, talk to one person. Now, the easiest way to do this, and I did this very early in my career, I had a picture of my family on the soundboard in the radio station. I'm by myself, just me and my janitor working overnight. Okay. But I put the picture right in front of the microphone and I was talking to my family. No one else could see it or know it, but I was talking to my family. So get a picture of somebody you know and literally talk to them. Now, the other thing I did, this is a really good trade secret. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Keep it to ourselves, guys. Keep it
and
to
and it
ourselves.
still and it still works her here doing the video shows. I often don't have a producer with me. I've been doing this long enough. It's me, myself, and I. But I have over time, and I did it with my radio days, I had a fake producer. Hey, Ted, you want to make sure we take that call in line 3? Or Ted, can you cue up that song for me? I want to make sure we have that ready to go when we come back from the commercial break. Now you're playing the game of someone else on your team.
Ah.
So now it's not just you. And, or if something goes wrong, a technical problem, say, hey, Ted, that's okay. We got it. And you could blame it on the imaginary friend that's not there.
I love it.
So these
Love
are the
it.
things that you start to do. And when you're in a live audience, I do pick out usually three people at different areas of the game. So I'll pick out one on the left that's maybe a cute little funny kid I can smile at. He's already that I've got an attractive lady. I've got a guy over here. And then I'll also pick something in the back of the room, a picture, a clock. Those are my speaking points. People don't know that I'm not looking at them. I'm talking to this kid over here, but the whole area over there gets it. When I'm talking to the back clock, I'm hitting everyone's back of their heads, but now they all feel like I'm talking to the room, or I'm going over to this right side and they all feel like, hey, and sometimes people will wave or I can see them smile because I noticed that. Finally, the other way is Some people don't like doing a monologue. Monologue is tough because they're just going for 45, 50. I mean, keynote speakers, this is really tough sometimes when they're first learning. Break the ice by asking a question, not a rhetorical question. So I often do this. I'll come down off the stage and I'll say, hey, blank question. And I'll say, hey, this is not just thinking in your mind. I want you to start shouting some answers out. Well, now you got the audience engaged with you.
Yeah,
So it's
beautiful.
not just you feeling like I got to own this by myself. Now you've turned this into an engagement.
Oh,
And
I
that
love
often
that.
really changed the dynamics. Yes.
Now, I've got a workshop that I'm doing in a couple of days' time on a business platform, and I'm going to use that. I think that is fabulous because I'll be standing to a group of bunch of people that are friends that I haven't met yet. And ultimately, I will be throwing that out to them. And I've got exactly the right question that I'm going to actually do that. Brilliant. Love it.
And,
Oh,
and
Rich.
let me give you one more tip
Another one, people.
because
Yay.
this goes back to something earlier you said, the fear of the camera, fear of the camera. There's a new reality. You're always on camera. Everyone has their phone. Everyone is videoing everyone at the park, walking their dogs. You have security cameras on you now. You have the Ring phone on now. You are always on camera, whether you like it or not. The question is, how are you going to present yourself? And this goes back to your branding. This goes back to your identity. Yes, I dress around. I'm blue jeans. I'm casual. I'm at Walmart, wherever I am. But I know I'm still on camera someplace. So I'm going to look good and not screaming, yell at my kids when I had kids and things like that. I'm going to try to be the best version of I am that relates to me and my brand because you are always on camera. So the fear of the camera should be gone. And when you start embracing the fact I'm always on camera, so this doesn't mean anymore. I don't even think about the camera. It's just, let's go. Let's have fun. That's a new concept for a lot of people that you're already on camera.
Well, in a lot of cases in the UK, I think we're one of the most heavily CCTV nations in the world. So ultimately, when you walk down the street, you're probably on some kind of camera.
So turn around and smile.
Absolutely. And I've got security cameras on my outside of my house as well. So I'll have to stand in there going, practice my speech in front of the security camera. It's fabulous. Oh, Rich, what a privilege and a pleasure to have you on the show. Before we go, how can people get hold of you?
So the easiest way is email trigger@rockthesagemedia.com. Trigger@rockthesagemedia.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as Rich Trigger Bontrager. That's usually the way. If you can Google that, Rich Trigger Bontrager, you'll find me. You'll find the YouTube channel, all the different things. It's pretty easy. I'm the brand. So if you know who I am, you'll find me.
And I tell you what, everybody, please do get in touch with Rich. I mean, apart from the fact that you're being hysterics, because he's a very wonderfully funny man, but the value, the wisdom, and the lived experience that Rich brings to this and his conversations. He's one warm-hearted, beautiful gentleman, and it has been a privilege to be in your company. It really has. Rich, thank you so much for being such a wonderful, erudite, wise, humorous, clever, insightful guest. And you've given us so much value today. It will be amazing to have you on the show again because we'd love to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah. Great to be here and look forward to coming back.
Absolutely. And everybody, thank you for listening. It is always a pleasure to have you. You know what? Wouldn't be here without you. This is my life's dream, my purpose, to share these wonderful guests with you for your delight, your entertainment, and the value that you can bring to you and your business, your loved ones, etc. So thanks so much. Like, comment, subscribe as always, and share because you never know. This could really resonate with somebody who might be in a position where they think, I can't do this. I might have a physical disability or might be on the autistic spectrum or some form of spectrum, might feel that this type of work isn't for them because of this, but have a desire, share it, please, because you never know, you could really make somebody's future here. And indeed, engage with people that want to be right now in this space and are thinking, oh, yeah, this sounds a bit of all right. So wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, carry on caring. See you all again very soon. Bye bye now.